Now it's time to be going over my best team series. Now I know that I'm jumping a few games, but I wanted to do a best team of Scarlet and Violet just before the hype of the game kind of falls off. For those who don't know what a best team is, or have forgotten what a best team is, a best team is basically what I believe is statistically the best team to use in a certain Pokemon game. Not including egg moves or stuff like that. Plus I'm also not going to be going over version and exclusives, and I don't normally do trade evolution. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But this is basically statistically what I believe is the best possible team to use in a playthrough of a Pokemon game to make it the easiest possible way for the player. And today I'm going to be going over Scarlet and Violet. Now, I don't hate these games, but I'm not obsessed with them. So, it was very difficult to decide which Pokemon should go on the best team when I'm not a big fan of the Pokemon that were introduced. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it, if you're loving my best team series, what you think of Scarlet and Violet, if you think I should have swapped out a Pokemon with another one, and if you have any video suggestions for the future, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's get into the video! Alright, to kick things off, we need a starter Pokemon. And to be honest with you, it was kind of a no-brainer which Pokemon to pick. I decided to go with the big, badass Skeledirge. Meowscarada would have been a great pick if it wasn't for its typing. Grass Dark has so many weaknesses and very little immunities and resistances. So I decided to go with Skeledirge because I personally believe that there are better water type options out there than this duck peacock looking thing. Still, Skeledirge is a great option. Its fire typing is amazing, its stats are incredible, its type combination is also very, very powerful. Like Fire Ghost, that is a very powerful type. Let me give some other examples of some Fire Ghost types that are very strong. Chandelure and Alolan Marowak. So, I feel like this is definitely a great option. Plus, there aren't too many other great fire types, so I feel like Skeledirge would be a great pick for a playthrough. For Skeledirge's moveset, I'm going to go with Torch Song, Shadow Ball, Earth Power, and Will-O-Wisp. Torch Song and Shadow Ball, obviously for stab, plus is also a great combination, because Torch Song increases its special attack every time it hits, and Shadow Ball has a chance of lowering special defense. So if you get the special defense drop, you can go straight into Torch Song and then up your special attack. So I feel like that's a great combination. Then we have Earth Power, which is for coverage against rock types. Plus, if the rock type has the added bonus of being ground type, that takes care of two of its weaknesses. And finally is Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp is kind of there just to cripple physical attack. Plus, since, well, Skeledirge has great HP, it's quite a decent defensive Pokemon. I feel like Will-O-Wisp will definitely help out a lot. Now, this is normally when I go over which important trainers a Pokemon is good against. However, I'm going to save it till the end because of the fact that we've got 3 stories to go through, plus the final bit at the end. So that's a lot to cover, so I thought it would be a lot easier just to cover it right at the very end. So, let's get into the next team member. I'm not going to lie to you guys, for this place, I kind of gave this Pokemon its slot, because the other 5 Pokemon that I have pretty much cover everything, and I needed an extra slot. So I kind of just went with this Pokemon. But still, it is a great option. Because I'm probably going to be using one of the greatest flying type Pokemon to ever come into the series. I'm going to be adding Staraptor. Like I said, Staraptor is kind of here just because the other 5 Pokemon that I've got on my best team already cover literally every single Pokemon type. And I kind of needed an extra slot to fill that didn't overlap with any of the dual typings that I already have on this team. So that kind of left me with Staraptor. But still, Staraptor is a great Pokemon. Its stats are amazing, it's found very early in the game, and it's also very strong. Keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of like grass, bug, fighting, and Pokemon, so Staraptor I feel will be needed. You can track down a Starly at South Province Area 2 and Area 4. Then, once you get it, which is very early in the game might I add, you can literally dominate with Starly on the way to Staravia, and finally as a Staraptor, it will be one of the greatest team members on your team. For Staraptor's moveset, I actually went with something quite powerful. For its moveset, I decided to go with Acrobatics, Facade, Close Combat, and U-Turn. Acrobatics can be useful because without an item, it's literally 110 base power. And thanks to Stab, it's a lot stronger. So, have fun with that. With Facade, if by any chance it gets a status condition, it'll do double the damage. So, also you're going to have a lot of fun with that. Close Combat is for coverage against rock types, and U-Turn can be interesting because let's say you have Staraptor, someone else brings in a Pokemon that's good against Staraptor, as well, and Staraptor outspeeds, you can just U-Turn and then get your hell out of there. Plus, it also can be quite interesting since Staraptor has the ability Intimidate, so you can easily Intimidate switch. Since this team doesn't have any grass or electric types, I kind of needed a Pokemon that can learn both an electric and a grass type attack. And also its type combination has to be very powerful and very useful for the playthrough. And thankfully, one Pokemon does all of those things and more. Say hello to the 3rd member of my best team, Gardevoir. Gardevoir is a very powerful Pokemon. Like, its type combination of Psychic Fairy can dominate a lot of important types. Plus, its stats are incredible. And its move pool is so diverse, it's insane. Not to mention its availability is very, very early. And by the time you level this thing up into Curlier, it'll be very strong. And when it goes into Gardevoir, it's going to dominate. Rolls can be found at South Province Area 1, so that is pretty close to Starly. So as soon as you capture your Starly, you can go straight to capturing Rolls. By then, you'll have a very powerful team. Like, Fuecoco, Starly, and Rolls, they have the potential of evolving into amazing Pokemon, and it's just so powerful. Like, those 3 Pokemon together could probably dominate quite a lot of important characters early game. For Gardevoir's moveset, I decided to keep it basic, but add a little twist. Because keep in mind, I need an electric move as well as a grass move. So I decided to teach it Psychic and Moonblast, as well as Thunderbolt and Energy Ball. Usually I would teach it Shadow Ball, but Energy Ball is more needed than Shadow Ball in this playthrough. Psychic and Moonblast can be taught by level up. Thunderbolt is through a TM as well as Energy Ball. So that's going to be quite an interesting turn of events because TMs are very, very tedious to make in this game. Yeah, so I would probably recommend researching how to make these TMs. I'll make a list of the ingredients you're going to need to make the TMs necessary for the Pokemon down in the description. But if that is not helpful, or if I'm not able to find it myself, I would highly recommend doing the research on how to make some of the TMs needed for this game. For the next Pokemon on my team, I was debating whether or not to put this Pokemon on my team at all. because of the fact that it's a rock type. And at first I didn't think rock types were that good in a playthrough. But after some debating in my head, I decided to put it on anyway. So, say hello to the next member of the team, Garganical. Garganical is a very strong Pokemon. Like, look at its base stat total. Like, that is pretty strong. Plus, its move pool is quite, well, diverse, but at the same time not diverse. It's diverse in power, but not diverse in types. So, I decided to stick it on because of the fact that we're going to need some we're going to need a rock type to cover stuff like ice, fire, bug, that kind of thing. Still, I am interested to use this Pokemon when I get Scarlet because I only have Violet. Still, I am happy to put this on this team because you don't really think that it could be that useful, but it is quite a useful Pokemon after a closer examination. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing this Pokemon's name correctly, so I'm deeply sorry if I am not. But the first evolutionary stage of Garganical, Nacli, I think its name is, I don't know. This Pokemon is also found in the South Province. So, you could literally get 4 Pokemon at South Province. Like, any of the areas in South Province, Area 1, 2, 3, it can be found in the South Province. So, you can literally capture 4 Pokemon when the game starts. Plus, these 4 Pokemon are going to dominate the early, mid, and late game, no matter which story you pick. For Garganical's moveset, I actually decided to do something a little interesting, but it's a bit basic, but still interesting. I decided to go with Salt Cure, Stone Edge, Earthquake, and Avalanche. If you guys don't know, Salt Cure is a little bit like Sand Tomb and Fire Spin, in the regard of it's a move that does damage every single turn. But if it's used against a water type or a steel type, it will do even more damage. So that's a nice little bonus. As for the other moves, Stone Edge is there for stab, Earthquake is for coverage against steel types, and Avalanche is also very good because it can do double the damage if it gets hit by an opponent's attack. And with that slow speed, it's more than likely going to happen. Plus, it's coverage against grass types, so that's always fun. For the 5th Pokemon, I decided to go with one that is an old classic, but never loses taste. This Pokemon is by far one of the greatest Pokemon to ever come out of the Pokemon franchise. It is very strong, very viable, and can be found fairly early. I am talking about one of the greatest Pokemon of all time, and one of the greatest Pokemon to be ever introduced into Generation 4, Lucario. Everybody knows Lucario dominates no matter what playthrough it is. Like, it is such an amazing Pokemon. Its type combination is going to be amazing in this game. Plus, its stats is going to be very useful because it's going to outspeed and overpower very quickly. Just as long as it doesn't get outsped by anything. Still, Lucario is an absolute monster. You may think that finding Riolu is going to be a bit of a challenge.
But nay, friend!
All you need to do is go to South Province, Area 2. And then eventually you'll run into Riolu, and then all you need to do is walk around with it in the outside world, or give him sandwiches and the picnics to level up its friendship, and as long as it's daytime, it'll evolve into Lucario. And then you'll have a absolute badass Pokemon. Plus, that's now 5 Pokemon that can be found early game. Like, how could you not see that this is a great Pokemon to have? For Lucario's moveset, we're going to keep things basic, but very, very powerful. Aura Sphere, Flash Cannon, Ice Punch, and Earthquake. Aura Sphere can be learnt by evolution, and it's also stab, obviously. Flash Cannon is stab, and it can be learnt to Lucario via a TM. If you don't want struggle of finding the necessary items to get Flash Cannon, then Meteor Mash would work as well, but I think Flash Cannon is a better choice. Ice Punch can be done by TM as well, so good luck finding the items. And Earthquake is also for coverage against fire types, so good luck finding a necessary item to make the TM for that as well. For the last team member, I know I really wanted a ground type, so that way I can counter any electric types that may come my way. But at the same time, I knew I also wanted a water type, so that way I can take care of any ground or fire types. And thankfully, I knew of a very strong Pokemon that had both of those qualities. So say hello to the final member of the team, Gastrodon. Since Gastrodon is a water and ground type, its only weakness is grass type. So I found that very, very useful. Plus, water and ground type is going to be very useful because they're both very offensive and defensive types. Like, this is going to be probably one of the greatest Pokemon you'll ever come across in Scarlet and Violet. In order to find Shellos, all you need to do is go to either South Province Area 6 or West Province Area 2, which can be as early or mid as you can make it. So, yeah, I feel like this will be a great Pokemon to have in your team. I was considering about using other water-type Pokemon, for example, Palafin. But I found out that Palafin evolves at level 38, and also you need to show it off to a friend, I think? I just found that absolutely stupid. So, I decided to go with Gastrodon since you can find it earlier, and it can also evolve through a method that isn't tedious. For Gastrodon's moveset, I'm going with Surf and Earth Power for stab. Surf can be E-Taught via a TM, as can Earth Power. And finally, Sludge Bomb and Ice Beam for coverage against grass types, and both of them can also be learnt by a TM as well. Now I'm going to be going over every single important battle in all of the stories, then going over which Pokemon on my team is best suited for every single one of those battles. Grab a seat, this is going to take a while. Let's start things off with the Titans. So for Cloth, I'd recommend using Lucario or Gastrodon against it since it's a rock type. For Bombarda, I would recommend either Gardevoir's Thunderbolt or Garganicle's rock type moves. For Orthworm, I'd recommend either Skeledridge, Lucario, or Gastrodon. For Great Tusk or Iron Treads, just use Gastrodon. They're both the same type in one of their typings. I believe they're both Steel type? Or maybe they're both Ground type, I cannot remember. But yeah, Gastrodon can take them both out. For Tatsugiri, I'd recommend using Gardevoir since it knows electric and grass moves. And for Arven, I recommend going with Lucario, Staraptor, Gastrodon, and Gardevoir. Now for the Team Star story. For Giacomo's team, Lucario, Skeledridge, and Gardevoir will do just fine. For Mella's team, I'd recommend Garganicle and Gastrodon. For Atticus' team, I would recommend the whole team apart from Staraptor. For Ortega, I'd recommend Gardevoir and Lucario. And for Erie's team, I'd recommend Staraptor and Gardevoir. For Clayval, I'd recommend going with Skeledridge, Gastrodon, and Gardevoir. And for Penny, I would recommend going with Lucario, Gardevoir, Gastrodon, and Skeledridge. Now it's time for the gyms and the Elite Four. This is going to be fun. For the first two gyms, it's not that big of a deal. All you need to do is use either Skeledridge or Staraptor. Either one of them can sweep the entire gym. For Iono, I don't know how to pronounce her name, I'm very sorry, but basically for the electric leader, just go with Gastrodon, because Gastrodon can take any electric type, and when you go up against Miss Magius, all you need to do is overpower it with some sort of physical attacker that isn't weak to electric types or ghost type moves. For Kofu, I'd recommend going with Gardevoir. For Larry, I'd go with Lucario. For Rhyme, I would actually go with Skeledridge and Lucario. Skeledirge can take care of any ghost types, and Lucario can take care of Mimikyu. For Tulip, I'd recommend Skeledirge and Lucario because she has a tendency of using both Psychic and Fairy types, so either one of them would be fine. And for Grusha, just sweep him with Skeledirge or even Lucario, and you're good to go. Now for the Elite Four and Champion. For Rika, Gardevoir all can take care of Rika's first Pokemon, then sweep with Gastrodon. That is literally all you need to do. For Poppy, Skeledirge can sweep her whole team. With the second battle for Larry, all you need to do is use Gardevoir and Garganacl. Either Gardevoir's electric attacks or Garganacl's rock type moves will take his whole team out. Except for his Tropius, I'd recommend using Skeledirge. For Hassel, I'd recommend using Gardevoir since it can pretty much sweep his whole team. And for Geeta, your whole team has a super effective move for every single one of the types. So all you need to do is use your whole team. Yo guys, so after better examination, you don't really need to use your entire team for this battle. If you want to use the minimalist option, Skeledirge can take care of Esprava, Go-Go, Avalugg and King Gambit, and Gardevoir can take care of Veluza and Glimmeror. If you want to avoid using Gardevoir against a rock poison type, Lucario works as well. And for Nemona, I'd recommend using your whole team except Garganacl, since Garganacl can't really contribute too much to the battle. Finally, we've got the last battle that we have in the final story, where we face the AI professors. So, for Professor Seda, I'd recommend going with Skeledirge, Lucario, Gastrodon and Gardevoir, and for Professor Turo, I'd recommend going with Garganacl, Gardevoir, Lucario and Staraptor. As you can see, this is by far the longest Pokemon game we probably have ever had so far. So there's going to be quite a lot of contribution to this game. And everyone has a very equal part in playing in this game. So I would say that this is probably one of the greatest, best teams I've ever made so far. And now guys, hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it, what you thought of the best team, if you think I should have swapped around some Pokemon, and if you have any video suggestions for the future, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Also, I don't know if this final team is going to be set in stone, because I've heard rumours that we're going to be getting a DLC, and I don't know if that is true, and if it is true, I don't know if you're able to access the DLC during your main story in the game if you restart it. So, I may redo this team another time. I don't know if I will or not, but if I do redo this team, there's a high chance there's going to be some other Pokemon added to this team. So keep an eye out in case I decided to remaster this team. Did you enjoy the video as much as I did making it? If you did, be sure to give it a massive thumbs up, comment down below, share this video with a friend, and if you're new, subscribe to my channel. It's been Inferno today. Okay, that's all from me, so till the next time, this is Infernape, signing off. Bye!